Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. The buzz around the NFL world exploded when the unexpected announcement dropped. Chase Young is returning to Washington in a shock move that nobody truly saw coming. For months, the story had been about his departure, his adjustment elsewhere, and the sense that his days in D.C. were a chapter closed. But now, against every prediction, the prodigal pass rusher is back with the Commanders, and fans are losing their minds. The rumor of his return started as a whisper, a murmur in message boards, a quiet tweet here and there that people dismissed as wishful thinking from nostalgic fans. Yet, suddenly, within hours, it transformed into a storm that could not be ignored, and confirmation came with all the fireworks of an off-season blockbuster. Washington, a franchise desperate for defensive stability and the injection of a familiar spark, decided to roll the dice. Chase Young, once the face of the franchise's rebuild, now finds himself wearing burgundy and gold again, and the timing could not be more dramatic. The energy around the team has shifted completely overnight, as what was shaping into another ordinary storyline suddenly feels like the start of something cinematic, a return steeped in redemption and unfinished business. The Commanders' faithful, who had been trudging through seasons filled with inconsistent performances, felt an almost cathartic release when the news hit. Bars erupted into spontaneous cheers, social media platforms were flooded with disbelief, and local sports radio scrambled to dedicate hours of airtime to process what just happened. Chase Young's name, once associated with what could have been, is now being spoken with renewed hope, as if the years away were merely a dramatic intermission. Fans who once turned their jerseys to the back of their closets are digging them out again, parading them proudly through the streets of Washington. This is not just a transaction. It's an emotional reset button for a city that has often felt starved of stability and identity in its football team. The reaction has been visceral, immediate, and filled with a raw sense of passion, because Chase was never just another player. He was a symbol of what could be built. Now, the reunion paints the picture of a second chance, and fans, perhaps naively, are already daring to dream about what this rebirth could mean for the future. For those who have followed Young's journey closely, the narrative takes on an even richer tone. His time away was marked by flashes of brilliance, but also by lingering questions about durability, fit, and whether he had truly peaked too early. Injuries tested his resilience, and the whispers of him being a what-if story grew louder. Yet, those same setbacks forged a player with sharper edges, someone who now returns not just as the hopeful prospect of old, but as a battle-hardened competitor with a point to prove. Washington, in bringing him back, is betting not only on his athletic talent, but also on his hunger, the kind of hunger that only comes from being doubted and discarded. For Chase, this is not merely about putting on a familiar jersey again. It is about rewriting his legacy. And for the Commanders, this is about gambling on a star who still has the aura to ignite a defense. The stakes are enormous, and the air around Ashburn feels electric with possibility, tinged with the tension of risk and reward that only sports can create so perfectly. The unexpected nature of the move has also reignited discussions about the Commanders' front office and their strategy going forward. Critics had often accused them of being too reactive, of not having a clear long-term vision. But this deal seems to be a statement in itself. Bringing Chase Young back is not just about nostalgia. It is about planting a flag and saying that Washington refuses to fade quietly into irrelevance. It is about reestablishing a defensive identity, something that has historically been the backbone of this franchise when it found success. The whispers suggest that this was not a move born purely of sentiment, but one of opportunity, as the team believes Young has matured both on and off the field. Whether this is a stroke of genius or a desperate gamble will only be revealed in time. But for now, the noise around it is deafening. Fans and analysts alike are dissecting every angle, every motivation, and every potential outcome. And in the process, the Commanders have reclaimed the spotlight in a league where headlines are currency. Chase Young's return is the kind of storyline that captures imaginations, and Washington is suddenly relevant again. What cannot be ignored is how much this reunion has reshaped expectations for the Commanders' season. Before, the narrative was about patience, slow growth. and hoping to stay competitive in a stacked division. Now, with Young back in the fold, there is a newfound urgency in the air. Fans are no longer just hoping for mediocrity. They are whispering about playoff pushes, about upsets, about the return of a dominant defensive front that can once again dictate games. The Commanders' defense, already showing glimpses of potential, suddenly looks like it could transform into something far more formidable with a rejuvenated Chase coming off the edge. His presence is not only physical but psychological. Quarterbacks will feel it, linemen will prepare differently, and the locker room will feed off the energy of his return. Whether or not the team can live up to this swelling wave of optimism remains to be seen, but what is undeniable is that the Commanders' trajectory has shifted dramatically in perception. This is not just a player coming back. It is the injection of hope into a fan base that desperately needed something to believe in again. As the dust begins to settle, the magnitude of this story continues to ripple beyond Washington. The league itself is buzzing, with rivals recalculating their game plans and national media outlets dedicating prime coverage to the shocking twist. It is rare for a single player to change the emotional temperature of a franchise overnight, but Chase Young has managed to do exactly that. The whispers of doubt that had defined much of his recent narrative are being drowned out by chants of welcome back, by hashtags flooding timelines, and by a city that has decided to rally behind its prodigal son once more. Whether this chapter ends in triumph or disappointment, it has already succeeded in one crucial way. It has reignited passion, conversation, and belief. Washington, for so long mired in mediocrity and cynicism, now finds itself the center of one of the most intriguing storylines of the season. Chase Young's unexpected return is not just news. It is theater, drama, and the kind of unpredictable twist that makes football more than a game. And for now, that is more than enough to set the city on fire with anticipation. The conversation around Chase Young's return is already shifting into the realm of legend, and it has only just begun. In bars, in living rooms, and across the city, the speculation is endless. Was this move orchestrated behind the scenes for weeks, or did it come together in a last-minute burst of boldness from Washington's front office? Nobody seems to know, and the mystery only adds to the allure. Some believe Young himself pushed for the reunion, fueled by a desire to reconnect with the fans and the city that first embraced him. Others insist it was Washington's leadership, sensing an opportunity to reignite the spark that once defined their defensive identity. What matters is not the timeline but the result, because now the Commanders are armed with a player who brings both nostalgia and renewed hunger. The tension between reality and possibility makes this story irresistible. Even as analysts try to temper expectations, fans are leaning hard into the fantasy that this is the moment everything turns. And in truth, who can blame them? After years of disappointment, a plot twist this dramatic feels like destiny, as though the football gods themselves scripted it for maximum effect. What lingers in the air is the sense of unfinished business. When Chase Young left, the narrative was tinged with disappointment, as if a promising story had been cut short before its climax. Now, with his return, there is a collective belief that the sequel could surpass the original. Fans are already replaying highlights of his rookie year, remembering the explosiveness, the ferocity, and the swagger that once electrified an entire fan base. This time, though, the expectations are layered with maturity, with the idea that Young has endured the hardships necessary to become more than just a star. He can become a leader. For Washington, the timing could not be more perfect. A defense that has flirted with potential but lacked consistency now has the emotional anchor it desperately needed. The whispers suggest that the locker room is buzzing, that veterans and young players alike feel a surge of motivation simply by seeing him walk back through those doors. And for Chase himself, this is about redemption, about silencing critics, and about proving that his story was never one of wasted talent, but one of resilience, rebirth, and triumph against the odds. Yet beneath the celebration, questions inevitably rise. Can Chase Young truly deliver at the level fans crave, or will the reunion be more sentimental than practical? The risk of disappointment is real, and the whispers of skepticism have not disappeared entirely. Critics argue that injuries remain a concern, that flashes of brilliance must be backed by sustained dominance if Washington wants to compete seriously. Some even suggest that the Commanders may have acted out of desperation, clinging to the hope of a familiar face rather than building something fresh. But in sports, risk and reward walk hand in hand, and the beauty of this move lies in the unknown. For fans, the gamble itself is intoxicating. It gives them something to argue about, to defend, to believe in when optimism had become a scarce commodity. And for Chase, the weight of expectation will either break him or sharpen him further. This duality, this blend of doubt and hope, is what makes the story so magnetic. Every snap, every tackle, every sack will now carry with it the burden of an entire city's anticipation, a test of whether legends can truly be reborn. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Meanwhile, rivals in the NFC East are quietly taking notice, even if they won't admit it publicly. The return of Chase Young changes preparation, shifts the way offensive lines will scheme, and forces quarterbacks to be a little less comfortable in the pocket. Division matchups, already known for their intensity, may now reach another level, as Washington's defense looks to assert itself with Young as the face of a renewed edge. The rumor mill suggests some coaches are already adjusting strategies, acknowledging that even if Young is not yet the dominant force of his early career, his presence alone alters the game. For a division defined by physical battles and historic rivalries, the timing could not be more perfect. Philadelphia, Dallas, New York, they all now face a Washington squad with something new to believe in, and belief in sports often translates into dangerous momentum. The whispers grow louder that this could tilt the balance of games that previously felt predictable. And while nobody dares call the Commanders favorites, the return of their once-lost star has planted a seed of doubt in opponents' minds, a seed that could sprout into chaos on any given Sunday. In the broader landscape of the NFL, this reunion is already being labeled as one of the boldest moves of the season. Not because of the transaction itself, but because of what it symbolizes. Teams often move forward, rarely looking back, and players who leave seldom return under circumstances that feel this dramatic. But Washington dared to defy the usual script, and in doing so, they created a moment that transcends the typical trade or signing. Chase Young coming back to the Commanders is bigger than the XS and OS. It is theater, it is narrative, it is the collision of sport and emotion. National pundits are dissecting every angle, while fans in other cities watch with a mix of envy and fascination, wondering if such a storyline could ever happen for their teams. Washington has taken a chance that could redefine its identity, and even if the gamble fails, the Commanders will be remembered for shaking up the league. For now, though, the focus is not on failure but on possibility, on the intoxicating dream that this reunion could mark the start of something unforgettable. That dream is what keeps the rumor mill spinning endlessly. And so, as Washington prepares for what comes next, the city feels alive in a way it hasn't for years. Street corners are buzzing with conversation, sports talk shows are overwhelmed with callers, and fans are daring to believe in magic again. Chase Young's name is everywhere, and the energy he brings is palpable, almost tangible in the air. It feels less like a signing and more like the beginning of a movement, a return that carries the weight of history, emotion, and future dreams all at once. The whispers say that practices are different already, that the locker room has found a new rhythm, that the aura of this team has shifted dramatically overnight. Whether the fairy tale ending arrives or not, this moment, this reunion, has already given fans something invaluable: hope. Hope that Sundays will once again feel electric. Hope that Washington can reclaim respect in the league. Hope that a player once seen as the cornerstone of the future can finally fulfill that prophecy. And hope, in sports, is often the most powerful weapon of all. The Chase Young story in Washington has been reborn, and the city is bracing for the ride. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.